Welcome, everyone, to the Winning Together podcast, the place to be, to find people to win together with, connect, understand, learn, and grow. This podcast is brought to you by I Am Recovery, and today we've got the coach and the alumni future speaker. This is Shay. I'm feeling Hawaii Yazlet across from Zaxter, Mr. Independent. You know, the big smile, it says it all on your face. We've got you coming up to speak at one of our live events coming up, and anybody who gets to listen to the podcast here. And, you know, as we're talking, I want you to think about that person you want to reach. You don't even have to say who they are, but somebody listening to this needs to hear it when they hear it. And like we were saying right before, this podcast takes you to the place you need to be taken to when it takes you there. That's how it is.
Amen.
So give me a little bit of a background on who you are, Zaxter, and why you're here today.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. It's good to have you.
Nothing but love for I Am Recovery, place that saved my life. Shay Dog, forever a brother. I grew up in American Fork, Utah, 1360 North. That's my block. I grew up with divorced parents, single parent home. I was blessed enough to have two parents who loved me so much that they fought over me in custody battles. And I chose my mom's side a little bit more. Not that they wanted me to pick a side, but it's just what you do. And so I grew up with a single mom. I had two older half-brothers who were around a lot, but at the same time they lived at their dad's house as well. I had one younger full-blood brother, though. So pretty much for most of my childhood, it was me, my mom, and my younger brother. I lived at my dad's for a while when I was a kid, and then just through like how life lined up, and I've got nothing but love for both my parents. They're both my best friends now, but there was at times love-hate relationships for both of them my whole life. And so for most of my childhood, I was at my mom's house, and pretty much my brother, my mom, and I, and then throughout my life, I've had over like 20 different step-siblings. I don't have any of them right now. A lot of them will still always be brothers and sisters in my heart, but right now, don't got any of them. And pretty much, like I said, grew up in that American Fork area, and I love to compete, man. That's all I did growing up was I had neighbors, lots of my neighborhood was a young neighborhood, and all we wanted to do was compete. And we played ball Monday through Saturday, and then we went to church on Sunday, and then we got home and played more ball. And I was raised by that neighborhood, man, 1360 North. I could tell you stories upon stories upon stories about that neighborhood, and that neighborhood really bred me. Later on, I went to Legacy Elementary, American Fork Junior High, American Fork High School, and then I had not the best experience at American Fork High School, so I went to a smaller high school called Summit Academy, where I actually was able to wrestle and play baseball. And then I ended up transferring back to American Fork, and then transferring back to Summit one more time and finishing out playing baseball at Summit, and that's where I graduated, was there.
Oh, is that like a 1A school?
I think they're 3A now. When I was there, it was 2A. Okay. School right next to the prison in Bluffdale.
That's fantastic.
It was an all right. Like, it was a good school. I was able to play multiple sports, but
which I think probably was the saving grace there.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome. It was a good time for sure. After that, I worked as like a little CNA for a while for this old guy who he actually just recently passed away. His name's Don. Don was a perfectly healthy guy, ended up having a stroke, and it made the left side of his body paralyzed. And he could understand everything I would say, but he couldn't say anything back.
Oh, wow.
So I had to learn how to speak the language of, So I'd be like, Don, how are you? Okay, you need something. What do you need? Okay, your prune juice? Okay, let's get it.
So when you watched Guardians of the Galaxy, you knew exactly what Groot was.
Yeah, I speak that language.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
As a teenager, what a great humbling experience.
For sure. I'd work 24 hours on, and then I'd have the whole week off, and then I'd work 24 hours straight, have the whole week off. It was cool. Yeah. Just kind of what comes to mind right after high school. That's what I did.
Yeah.
That's when I started getting in trouble and everything, and You win some, you lose some, right?
You win some, you lose some. I think so you're quite a connector. You have a gift and a talent to attract people. I think I want you to keep on weaving in. I think the athletics has been a key. If you've noticed, have you noticed young adults, teenagers, and even adults, when they don't develop their gifts and talents, they're a mess. No wonder you do drugs or drink or you're not fun to be around. But when you have the opportunity to give your gifts and talents, man, that makes all the difference.
100%. It's like if you trap yourself in a box, like there's no like that's the thing I see with a lot of people is they don't want to reach out and try new things or do new things. And it's like pretty much the main reason why I feel like people get addicted to drugs is because they don't have something that can fulfill them in another way. So there was a study done on these two rats, and one of the rats had opium in his water and one of them didn't. And after study after study, there was nothing in these boxes. There's just these two rats. After study, these rats were overdosing and dying off the opium water. And then the professor said, well, why don't we look at this in another way? Why don't I build them a rat kingdom and we retry this study? So he built them a rat kingdom with like colored balls and all the food they can eat and whatever and other rats to socialize with. And as soon as he did that and he fulfilled them with something, no rat chose the opium water anymore. They wanted the normal water and they wanted connection. She's badass. I hope you hear this, Mary. You're badass. You saved my life. And Mary used to always say the opposite of addiction is human connection, right? Human connection, right? So if you give people something to share, their gifts and their talents, it's the opposite of addiction, in my opinion.
It really is. And when my mom first told me that too, that a few years ago, I have small kids. So to start thinking about, okay, so how do I create, especially with the constraints of you're working or maybe you're in a dysfunctional cycle at your family or a negative one or your partner's on board, but you're on board, but your partner's not. That idea of giving you purpose and meaning and that your efforts and your struggle and your sacrifice, that matters. And you can't meet the same need through digital. So it's not the same if we go camping and you're going camping with your character on whatever video game you're playing. It doesn't meet the same need, but your brain will get the same chemistry. So sometimes it doesn't quite know if that is it. So it's a unique challenge we've got to be. It's not so clear cut as it used to be. Yeah. Like when I first saw you, you've got cauliflower hair a little bit, and I was like, oh, he's my people. I wrestled. State champion wrestler right here. So okay, I know who you are, and we've bonded in that certain way. So this is a perfect setup, okay? And this is why we're so excited for you to come speak. You come to a place where you accept or acknowledge or ask for help. So you enter a program, you work the program, you do it for real. I don't know if it was the first time you've done a program or not, but first time. You're like, I'm here because I want to be a healthy, happy person. I have an idea what that looks like. I'm willing to put the work into it. Over time, you end up managing the sober living home, becoming a real leader in not just the program, but in your life. There's a time where you're working several jobs. You're even in management at several jobs, working towards your passion, which has to be a very creative outlet of barbering.
Barbering, stylist, whatever.
You make men look awesome. That's what you do. And so as you're moving towards this, and then even a year and a half removed from your out of the recovery place, and your life is workable and it's growing, and you've got things that you want, a girlfriend and a good job, and you're doing your profession, being creative, and then your rat kingdom comes crashing down. It just is. It's done. I don't know if it didn't crash down, but it's done. And we connected in January, and I called up and how's it going? Well, actually, I just broke up with my girlfriend, and I did this and this, and it was a hard, low, dark moment for you. So as your kingdom came down, you're not there now. How did you build your kingdom back up to so it's fulfilling? And how did you not turn to drugs or alcohol or being a dumb person? You know, how did you turn in and use skills to become a healthy, happy Zaxter?
Yeah. A little bit of background with that. What Shay's talking about is I was dating this girl for a long time, and she's still family, still love her to death, nothing but the utmost best things to say about her. But unfortunately, we weren't meant for each other, and we decided to call it quits. Not call it quits, but decided to step away from each other for a time. And this was my first real relationship with a female that I've ever been in, and I didn't know anything else at this time. I just thought that's how things were going to be, and I thought that I would never find love. I thought that I was never capable of like being in a relationship or anything like that. Anyways, that happened. I just want
to really underscore that. Those feelings are real.
Yeah.
There are times in our lives where we feel that is truly impossible.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to look in outside like, oh, come on, you know, oh, it'll go away. Or it's really important not to. It's really important to allow you to feel like that is maybe that is how it's going to be.
Yeah. No, agreed 100%. Like these last, up until now, this is like 6 months ago now, like it wasn't until just recently where I ever felt like I was worthy of being there for somebody. I just thought maybe I was too selfish or anything like that. Back to that story though, I had gotten the COVID virus, and 2 days later we decided to call it quits. So here I am talking to Shay. My job, I literally talk to people for 8 hours a day. That's what I do. I cut hair and I talk to cool-ass people every single day, all day. And so I'm calling Shay. I've got COVID. I just broken up. My girlfriend and I just split ways. And I am in the most lonely, dark place of my life because I am not allowed to touch, look, talk to anybody because I have the COVID vaccination, or I just got COVID, and my girlfriend and I just broke up. And literally I was stripped of all that human connection. There was no human connection there whatsoever. And I was just broken. I was alone for the first time since I was in a detox bed 2.5 years before that, 3 years before that. But kind of back to what Shay was talking about, that's a little background, but he asked me, how did I get out of that, you know? I Am Recovery taught me a lot of things about myself. You know, it taught me a lot of hard work. It taught me that life is a marathon and it's not a sprint. And so I had to take a little breather for a second, and then I hopped back on the horse. Right before that, I found one of my clients had recommended hot Pilates to me. And so I started doing this hot Pilates stuff right before I got COVID, and I fell in love with it. And then another person there recommended, at the studio that I go to, recommended Bikram yoga to me. And I fell in love with Bikram yoga too. And then I get COVID and I can't do it, and it just stripped everything I loved away from me. But I knew if I could get through the 2 weeks of quarantine and I could get back to my hot room where I could fight my demons, then I'd be okay. I got through the 2 weeks, and I got back to the hot room, and I got back to work. And I just kept going. I just didn't quit. I went through every emotion, the highs, the lows. And that's the thing about what I've been doing is I went through every emotion. I went through them all. I went through the highs. I went through the lows. I had people in treatment talking shit, telling me that I wasn't fit to be their manager, all those kind of things. I went through all the emotions with everything that I'm doing, but I just didn't quit. And I just kept going, and I just kept getting 1% better every day. And I just kept working, and I can finally say I'm in a place where I love myself and I'm happy, you know?
What are some of one of the tenets that I found true for me is that whatever your heart is your hard. And whatever my heart is my hard. But hard is just hard. You can't look at somebody and say, well, you don't understand because your heart is not as hard as my heart. I mean, you can do that all you want. But when you start practicing personal responsibility, you start looking at and finding and seeing people who do their hard, whatever it is. So how did learning how to do your hard work, how did you train yourself, first of all? Because then it came to bear in this, it wasn't something you were planning on, and that's how I've seen it so often. That's one thing I really love about your approach too, is it doesn't matter who you are or where you are or what stage or age of life you are, anxiety, depression, anger, addiction, alcoholism, pornography, loneliness, they affect all of us. They're not for those other people, or because you don't do drugs illegally, but you abuse your legal ones you got from your doctor. It doesn't make you better or worse than somebody else. And it applies to all of us. So these are skills that are coming in now. How did you train yourself to do those things? And then what did you do to go there when the hard was right there?
How did I train myself to do these things? Like I didn't always, I still don't have anything figured out. I'm just riding the ride. The biggest step was admitting that I wasn't happy. Like I remember the day after, or it was Super Bowl 2017. Tom Brady just came back from 27-3 down to the Falcons, and he beats them. And I'm watching the game with my grandpa and my cousins, and I'm withdrawing my ass off of heroin. Oh. And I'm sitting there watching this game with them, and I'm miserable. And I had heroin, but I didn't want to do it anymore because I was so sick of getting sick to not be sicker. So I would use, and I would get sick just so I wouldn't be sicker, Yeah. And so here I am watching this game, the Super Bowl with my cousins, and I'm just withdrawing. And the best game in history of football is on, and I can't comprehend it because I'm so sick. And I ended up going to my mom's house right after the game, and I just laid on her floor. I just started crying. She's like, "What's wrong, bud? What's wrong?" And if you would have thought for 1 second I would have gone over there and told her what I'm about to tell you, you're kidding yourself. There's some times where God just puts words in your mouth and you don't have an option but to say them. So I'm laying on the floor, and she goes, "What's wrong, bud? What's wrong?" And hear me out. My mom doesn't have any idea of what extent of drugs I'm doing. She knows I'm in trouble.
Something's off.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah, and she knows like I'd been dicking around and stuff, but she doesn't know to the extent. And I was like, "You know what, Mom? I'm addicted to heroin." And she stayed cool and content, but I could see, my son. Because when you grow up in Utah County, this is 90% LDS around here. The word heroin, that goes right up there with Satan, Those go hand in hand. She stayed cool and content, and she goes, "Z, you will never believe what just happened to me yesterday. I just sold a lease to a guy who is starting a recovery center." Yeah, starting a recovery center. And I was like, I don't know if I'm that bad. I don't know if I need rehab. "No, Z. This guy told me," he said, "when I sold him that lease, apparently I did something right." Because he looked at me and he said, "How can I help you? You've done so much for me. How can I help you?" And 2 days earlier, or this is 2 days before I'm over at my mom's house, and he says this to her, "How can I help you?" And she goes, "Help my son." 2 days later, I'm on her floor, telling her I'm addicted to heroin. Yeah. And she says, "Will you please call this guy?" And I said, I'll call him tomorrow. And I got home, and I used heroin again that night, and I was miserable. And I woke up the next morning, and I was miserable, and I was sick, and I had a little bit left, and I figured I'd call this guy. And I did. His name was Jared Casey, and he started I Am Recovery, and he's a badass what he is. And I call this guy, and I'm like, "Hey, my mom told me you're in this." I didn't know what recovery looked like.
Sure.
I don't know what rehab is. Rehab is where Lindsay Lohan went, and
right.
like all the Michael Jackson and all those guys, And I'm like, hey, man, I'm struggling. I'm Pam's son. And he said, well, what are you struggling with? And I was like, I'm struggling with heroin. And he's like, okay. How are you sick? And I was like, I've been sick, but like he's like, are you still using? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, do you need to keep using, or can we get you checked in first, or do you like have to use it? And I was like, well, I'm probably going to use what I have left. Not going to lie to you. And he goes, okay, well, let me call around. Let's see if we can get you a detox bed. And I don't even know what that means. He's like, I'll call you back as soon as possible. He hangs up the phone. I use the last of my dope, and I get a call back from him about an hour later, and he goes, hey, I got a detox bed for you. And within 3 hours, I was checked into detox, been clean ever since. And back to what you were saying, choosing your heart, or what was your heart, is I admitted that to my mom when that was the thing. It was like 3 days before her birthday. Yeah. And that was the thing that I knew would crush her more than anything else in the world, is hearing that from her son, but I had to tell her. And that's where my heart started. And ever since then, it's like, oh, I told my mom that, okay, I'm for real here. My mom dished out like $3,000 of her own money to get me through this detox. Her like inheritance or something, she pulled it out, and she paid for my 4 days in detox, you know? But that's where I chose my heart first, was making that first step to admit that I had a problem and that I needed to fix it. And I do believe in this recovery stuff, like this stuff is fixable, you know? I have nothing. I think all the programs are great. I love all the programs, whatever works for you, great. But like, I think this shit's fixable, man. Like,
and it's figure outable, and it can happen way faster than you think it's possible to happen, in proportion to your willingness, like for you, to be honest.
Yeah.
To ask and to just do what you're asked to do. And it doesn't take away your freedom or your rights, or it doesn't infringe on anything. It's just asking you to be actually more you.
Yeah. 100%. That's all Jared ever wanted, was me to just be me.
And your mom.
Yeah, and my mom. They just wanted the same little kid that used to grow up playing ball in the backyard, you know?
How bad had the fibbing and lying gotten to that point in your life? And I mean, I don't mean just your mom. I mean all around.
Oh, it was so compulsive. The lies were just lies for whatever. Like, it didn't even matter. Like, just some dumb stuff. It didn't even matter. Like, the thing is, I never got to a point where I was like stealing money or anything. Luckily, like maybe here and there, like I don't know. I never really stole, but like anything my mom asked me, I would just tell her whatever sounded best. Even if it was like, hey, did you go to work today? And it was like, yeah, I did go to work today. I'd be like, yeah, I went to work today for 10 hours, instead of just being like, yeah, I went to work for 8 hours. You know, just stupid stuff like that. Like, I don't know.
And to see you now become a person who values honesty, I think above almost anything else, and keeping it real and authentic.
Yeah. No fugazi.
No fugazi.
No fugazi.
I love that.
And you know what? Sometimes like that like little bitch still creeps up and like wants to like, I mean, I'm a barber, like I'm there to entertain, you know? And so sometimes like I catch myself like starting to tell a story like it happened to me when it happened to somebody else, just to sound cool. And it's like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that?
And it's crazy. The more that you like yourself, the less you have the need to have that.
For real.
And I thought at some point that was going to go away, until I learned and became aware that it doesn't ever go away, and it can't ever go away.
Yeah.
That's how you stay sharp. Because if it were to go away, then you would start embellishing, because it's way cooler to talk about stuff that's really rad and impress somebody or whatever than maybe to put the work in. But at the end of the day, there's nothing better that feels than being you all the way. Yeah. Nothing's better than that.
There's just something about like I have a client who told me the other day, he's like, if you never lie, you'll never have to remember telling the truth. And it's like, there's just something about like just being able to walk around and just like, I can walk into any room and feel comfortable. There's no one I can't, and this isn't me being arrogant or anything, but But like, I feel like there's literally no scenario where I could not walk into a room and I would not feel like I could. I don't care to fit in, but I'd feel the energy of the room, and I could be there and be present and engaged.
I'd agree with that. Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Love it.
How do you recognize what the next step is? So you call Jared, and there's something in you that you recognize that's what I got to do.
Yeah.
I got to tell my mom what I just told her or what I'm going through. And then you start this recovery program, and he's trying to figure it out, you're trying to figure it out. And then over time, things come together in a way you can start seeing some patterns that work and whatnot. Now, as you look at your life and as you are growing and becoming the person that you said you would become 2 years ago, I mean, you're doing exactly what you said you would do 2 years ago, a year ago, right?
Yeah.
How do you recognize what the next step is, or what the next inspiration or prompting or guidance or synchronicity, however you want to say it?
I think once you start getting too comfortable, once stuff starts getting too easy, there's no fence sitters, like you're either swimming against it or you're going backwards, so it's like once something becomes too easy, that's when I kind of get a little, maybe it's the ADHD in me, gets a little like anxious, and I'm like, what's next? What's next? I don't always know like what's next, but I'm a big God-fearing man, and I pray on my knees every morning and every night. Sometimes not the mornings because I forget. There's no need to lie about that like we just talked about. But a lot of the times I do, true. But most of the time I'm praying, and I have a prayer in my heart all day, and I just let God take the wheel, man. Like, I'm just here for a good ride, And the thing about it is, as long as I'm taking care of his children, he makes sure things work out for me.
Period.
I don't care about money. I don't care about any of that bullshit. Like, I make money. I don't care about it. Like, I care about human connection and being good to people. If you have something, why not share it with the people you love?
But I get a lot of abundance from you, though, too. So you're also in a place where you've attracted more wealth than ever in your life.
Yeah, and I don't give a shit about it. It doesn't mean anything.
But what you do care about more than anything else is excellence, quality, reliability, dependability, connection, engagement, authenticity. Yeah. So it's interesting that the marketplace sure values that.
I'm busy. I'm busy in a good way. I get the what do you say now, Shay? It's the problems I want now, right?
Yep. We've all got to eat a shit sandwich.
Yeah.
So why not choose the sandwiches you want to eat?
Right. Like now I'm really stressing about this. Like, who would ever thought that like I'd be stressing about like a talk, like a speaking moment, or what do we call it? Arena talk speaker moment.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm tripping. Like, I woke up from a nap today and I had an anxiety attack, and I was like, I need to eat an avocado or something. I went to St. George this weekend, and I haven't been on my normal diet or workout regimen or any of that stuff. And dude, after waking up from that nap today, it was like, holy shit. Like, what? Like, I was freaking out for about 5 minutes. I was like, I'm not prepared. I don't have anything written down. I don't have anything. I'm screwed. I'm so screwed. I still have those moments.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad. So I hear what you're saying, but your body is saying something totally different.
I forgot what we were even talking
about. Your body is saying, I am actually ready. So I hear what you're saying, and I know your head's there, but also you've allowed for this not to be about you. And I think that's one of your biggest gifts is, even right now, this isn't about you. It's about the life that you live. If this can be of service or gift or guidance to someone else, I will give it freely and generously.
Exactly. You couldn't have said that better, honestly. Like, I'm not doing this recovery thing I'm not doing this speaking thing for myself. Yeah, it's going to do a lot for me. Don't get me wrong.
Totally.
But I'm thinking about the one person in the room that has never had somebody be able to touch them. I've got a lot of people in mind right now who've been through some shit, and sometimes I don't feel like I deserve what I have. And sometimes I look at the people in my life who are going through a lot. There's a handful that come right to mind who sometimes I'm just like, God, why don't you bless them more? Like, why me? Why me? And, he he tells me, you take care of my children. That's why you're blessed, you know? And,
That's been a big struggle for you, huh?
yeah, I don't feel worthy.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I deserve what I have. I still don't get why me, you know? It's kind of interesting. Like,
but one of the things you said earlier too is you don't need to know why.
no, I'm just riding the wave.
And the way you surf is inspiring. And if somebody else picks up the board and starts surfing because they see you doing you, that's what it's about here. So speaking of that, one, you and I had an experience that we've bonded over. It's been important to me. It's led to some really beautiful things. And there was somebody that came to the program, and you said, and I was assigned their coach, and you said, I know this person, and I've known them for a while. I want you to give them your best. I want you to take care of them. And I just looked at you and said, yes, I will do it. And tending to that relationship and giving and honoring my word with somebody who I admire and respect and giving my best effort, the outcome isn't so far been maybe what you would hope it would be from there. But by doing that, you and I bonded. Yeah. And we've got a brotherhood that will go the distance.
Yeah.
And that has led me to actually develop a friendship with this person that we still have, and develop a really strong relationship with his parents.
Yeah.
That has been beautiful.
Yeah.
I think I bring that up because I think it matters that you bond, or that when you see people, you can ask them to we win together.
I think it's just teamwork, you know. If I'm winning, you're winning, you know. And if I love somebody, you love them because I love them, and that's all you need to know.
That's it.
And I would do the same for you.
Seriously, I didn't ask you any other information. That's all you said. And I was like, okay, you got it.
That's all I need to know. Yeah, I agree 100%, man. Like, we live in such and part of my language, but like whoever's hearing this, like, I'm sorry, but like, we live in a up world, you know, like, in that
specific when you say that.
Sorry, I don't mean it like that. I mean the perception that social media and people give us make it seem like this world is a bad place. But I can say firsthand, I see it way in such a beautiful eye. I sit down with 8 amazing people every single day and just talk to them for an hour. And I kid you not, there's not one person that doesn't want to truly do good. There's not one person who wants bad in their life. Like, they truly all want to do good. Like, I feel like I could sit down with some of the worst people in history, and I feel like I could find the good in them. And I believe most people are good, and I just feel like people don't know how to express that. I don't know exactly what we were talking about before that. Again, I'm kind of all over the walls, but...
What do you mean by express the good? Because the way that shows up for me is helping people see how they can honor their gifts and talents.
Yes, because I believe people don't really think like they're cool sometimes, and not even cool, but like, I just believe people don't believe in themselves, you know. And dude, there's something in everyone that to me is worth talking about.
Absolutely,
yeah,
multiple things.
Yeah, and I
So how do you fan the flame of that in Zaxter? Because so for you to recognize in other people, and let alone give it, you've got to give it to yourself first.
Yeah.
So how do you fan the flames of awesomeness in you?
Shoot, man, I think that's the constant battle, you know, and I think
Agreed.
that's why I try to. I think loving yourself is so hard, you know. I think that's why, like, I try to make other people love themselves so much, is because that's something I really truly struggle with every single day. Like, I wake up depressed every day. I hate myself at the beginning every day. I would say hate's a strong word, but like, dude, I wake up not stoked every single morning, you know. But the thing that I fan that flame with is I do hard shit all day. I wake up and I hate myself, and I get my ass in the shower, and then I turn that all the way cold, and I do a cold ice shower. And then it's like, okay, I start my day like that. Okay, what else could faze me? Okay, I get out. Okay, I'm going to be 30 minutes early to work today. So I go to work, and I take pride in everything I do at that job. You know, sometimes you catch me on an off day, whatever. But I go to work, and I work hard every single day, and I try to fuel my body like it should be, So instead of going out and eating McDonald's for lunch, like I make the hard choice and I eat an avocado and Brussels sprouts and broccoli at lunch, and that fuels me. And then that's a hard choice. And then the hard choice to get back and work hard. And then the hard choice to close the shop. And then by then it's like, oh shit, what else could be as hard as like putting in a full day work? Okay, I'm going to go bake myself in a hot room. Sometimes that's hard, but I know I love the way it feels after. And so like it's easy to get there, but it's super hard to. I just know I need to get there.
The hot yoga is what he's talking about, or hot Pilates.
Yeah, hot Pilates, hot yoga, just baking yourself in a hot room, sitting in a sauna. Just go sweat, man. I tell you what, there's something about getting the best drug in the world is being 100% hydrated. There's not a better drug in the whole world. That's a side tangent though, but
I would also put that or 100% oxygenated. Oxygenated yes. Or hydrated.
Yep, 100% Wim Hof. But anyways, I think to fan that flame is I choose to do hard stuff every day. So when I go to lay my head at night or I go hit my knees at night, that I look up to the person who I'm talking to and let them know that I carried the yoke for the day and I worked hard. And you know what? Then I can lay my head peacefully, And those little victories, small and simple things are great things brought to pass, Like, stop looking at the one bad thing that happens to you all day. There's always going to be some that talks shit and supposedly ruins your day, but why would you let 5 seconds ruin 24 hours?
Whether that or family or a friend or somebody you don't even know or somebody you work with, can be anybody in your circle. And so you can't distinguish, oh, well, it's my brother, so it's different. Yep. No. If someone's being that way, you got to, cut it.
Yes. And it's easier said than done. Like, all this stuff I'm saying, it's like, I'm making it sound easy, but, dude, it's like I said earlier, I went through every emotion. This stuff is not easy. Getting out of bed, I click snooze. For a while, I was off of the snooze button. And now I'm back on it, and so I'll click it 4 times and I start my day off with 4 losses, by clicking it 4 different times.
Yep.
And then it's finally I get out of bed with 30 minutes to hurry and get ready instead of having an hour. And, it's you got to adapt though, you got to make plays. You got to be a playmaker, sometimes it's not always going to go your way. But you really got to count your victories, in my opinion, and not focus on the losses.
Can I make an observation for you too? Is I've also seen that because you practice that, choosing your heart, having a routine, knowing what over the period of time makes you feel good, I've observed you're able to celebrate their victories way better. And the moments of recovery in between, you honor those like you never had before either. So the time where maybe you have a couple clients cancel, so there's a gap, and to use that as a way to recharge or to observe that it happens exactly when it's supposed to happen. Yeah. Oh, perfect. And to recover and to use it instead of to complain or blame or whatever. But also, you took some time this weekend to go do something that fills you up. Softball, sun, being with important people. And then the third thing that you talked about is, okay, you're also incorporating different relationships in your life. And so that takes energy from a different part of your life. So when you're hitting those snooze buttons, you're not making it like you're in trouble or bad or whatnot. I feel like you're way more aware of adapting to how the energy is coming in. And even though you might be wobbling a little bit on the bike, you're still riding and it's still going in the direction you want to go. And you're going to catch that real quick and make it ride strong.
100%. I'm not going to let one step take away 10 steps of progress.
Ever again.
No. Mm-mm. It's just, there's little things you can do every day, It's a marathon. It's not a sprint,
And the momentum in that marathon makes all the difference.
Yeah, 100%. Do you mind if I tell that story we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
When I was in the house, I'm really big on this whole marathon sprint stuff. When I was in the house, just to give a little perspective, I was in the sober house for almost 2 years. That's like an LDS mission for all the people listen on here from Utah County, you know. 2 years in a recovery house, and if you talk to anybody in recovery, nobody spends 2 years in treatment straight. Maybe over their lives, yes, but not 2 years straight, you know. So I started in there as a patient, and there was an early time when I was first in the house, and how the house works is you phase through the program. So you start in phase A, then you go phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and then you graduate. And I was in the house for about a month and a half, or 2 months at this time, 3 months, and we had 3 other dudes in the house at the time, including myself, so 4 of us total. And I remember Jared had just come up with this phase system, and he gave everyone a phase. And he gave these 2 older gentlemen in the house, he gave one of them a phase 3, and he gave one of them a phase 2. And I looked over and I was like, well, shit, I better be phase 3 because I've been in here longer than anybody else. And he looks over at this other dude who had just gone off of a relapse a couple days before. And he goes, okay, blah, 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 you're in phase 1. And I was like, yeah, he should be in phase 1. And he looks over at me, and he kind of gives me this nod, and he goes, Z, you're in phase 1 as well. And I was like, dude, I didn't say this going through my mind. I was like, Jared, I've done everything you've asked me to, man. Like, what else do you want from me? Like, I've been in here longer than anybody else. Just because those guys are older, you're putting them in a higher phase, and then you're putting me next to the dude who just relapsed a couple days before.
Is after a couple months of being there?
Yeah, it's like 2 months of being there, you know. Maybe less. I'm trying to remember. Maybe a month to 2 months. But he just put me next to this dude who relapsed a couple days before. Maybe it was a month or month and a half. Either way. And I was just like so pissed off. And I guess one thing Jared and Mary used to always say to me is, Z, you have a hard time getting deep. Like, there's no fire under your ass. Like, you're just kind of getting by. So I go and guns a-blazing to Jared in a nice way.
Gift of charisma, didn't you have to like get deep, did you?
Yeah, it's just like I just was able to talk my way out of stuff, I guess. But Jared and Mary, you can't fool those guys.
No, you cannot.
You can't. And Chris, you can't either.
No, you cannot.
No, they'll read right. They'll read you like a book. I go to Jared the next day, and I was like, Jared, like, can I talk to you? And he's like, yeah, come have a seat. And I was like, Jared, what's that about, bro? You put me in the same phase as blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, I've been trying to put in work here. Like, what else do you need me to do? Like,
it takes something to get your anger lit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was like, you say jump. You've been saying jump. How high do you want me to jump? Like, what do you want? And he just starts smiling. And he probably could tell the story a little bit differently, but this is what I remember, so that's all that really matters. And he goes, Z, it's about damn time there's a fire lit under your ass. He said, you are in phase 2 now. And he said, the reason why I had to do that to you the other day, Z, is there's a bigger picture in all of this. I know you can take a punch. Blah, blah, blah. He can't. So if we would have put him in the bottom phase and you in the same phase as him, he may have left the program. He may have relapsed again. And he knew I could take that hit for him. And he trusted me to take that hit for him. And I was glad to take that hit for him once I heard that. But he was like, it's about time you have a fire lit under your butt, you know? And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, patience, you know? Like, it ended up working out. And that was a good story to remember. And I told that story to so many people coming in the house. And here we are, okay, so I was in the program. Now we're coming up. I graduate the program. I'm staying in the program as a house manager, so I'm still living in the house, pretty much still in the program. And here I am a year and a half later into this program. And we get this badass kid who moves in. Keep in mind that first story, right? I got looked over. I stayed consistent. I got passed up by him, but I stayed consistent, and it paid off for me, right? That's just a small victory. A year and a half later, we get this badass who moves in. And
he is badass.
He is badass.
Period.
Yeah, he's Hercules when he's on it.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And he just started taking off, man. Like, he got on like this bulletproof diet, and he turned himself into Hercules, and he was in the garden every single day planting flowers, and he got like this awesome job at a sushi joint and was pulling in like $400 every single night. And here I am by this time. I'm an apprentice at my barbershop, so I'm working 30 hours a week, not getting paid at the barbershop. I'm a manager at Vans, the shoe store, working 25 hours a week there, making shit money, like whatever. And then I'm managing the sober living house, which in itself is a full-time job, almost as like a mother. Not a mother, but like I had to tell 40-year-old men to make their bed like every single day. And that was like one of the hardest things, is just like being 21 years old and having to sit down with these grown-ass men and be like, hey, man, I'm not trying to be power hungry or anything, but like I realize I'm younger than you, but like I got to lay down the law. You know what I mean? And anyways, back to the other story. There's this dude who moves in, and he's just getting it, man. And he's just making money, and he's turning himself into Hercules. And he really looked like when he moved in the program, he was a little chunky. And within like 2 months, he literally looked like Hercules. And I was just like, and we would get in the sauna every night together. And the sauna, the treatment facility has a sauna in it. So we used to get in the sauna, and we would just go full Neanderthal in there. And I looked up to this guy so much, but I didn't get it why he got it so quick. And I never understood. And then I made him my assistant house manager, and he pretty much took over as the house manager. Like, honestly, like I took a back seat to him. What he said went, the guys listened to him better, everything. And then I could see him start getting complacent a couple months in. So, like, he'd been in the house now for, like, 2-3 months. Keep in mind, I've been there for 1.5 years now. And I wasn't jealous or anything, but I would be lying if I wasn't a little bit envious of how much this dude was getting in so little of a time. And then one day he comes up to me and he's like, Z, I'm going to move out. And I was like, what? You just moved in? Like, I just made you my assistant house manager. He's like, I'm going to move out, like, I want to be able to smoke weed. I just want to be free and do what I want to do. He just barely had gotten a car. And I was bummed, man. And I felt like he was leaving me. I felt like he wasn't sticking with me, you know. I wasn't mad at him. I was happy for him. But I remember sitting down with Chris Avery, who's a badass coach here. He was my coach. He's still my best friend. And I remember him talking to me.
Hercules.
Yeah, I remember him talking to me about Hercules. And he's like, are you okay about the whole Hercules thing? And I was like, I'm kind of bent out of shape about it, man. He's like, why? And I was like, I just don't get it why, like, I've been here for so long. And I'm like envious of him, and hasn't been here for that long. Like, I really was, like, I was happy for him, but I just like was like, why him? Yeah, I was just, yeah.
I'm gifted, like, I'm talented.
Yeah, I was like, why can he move out now? I'm not making any money yet. I can't move out. Like, this is the cheapest option for rent I have, but here I am working 80 hours a week, just stretched thin. And I was jealous that he was moving out. And Chris said something to me along the lines of like, do you realize how much of a foundation you have built compared to him? He's like, this is like his 6th or 7th treatment. I'm not trying to, Chris just put it in my eyes. We're not trying to talk smack on this guy at all, because I have a lot of love for him.
And he's still our friend, and we still love him. He's
still one of my, if not my best friends to this day. And, but Chris goes, do you realize the foundation you built? He's pretty much, this is what he said. And he's like, that foundation's going to last you forever. And he's like, and Hercules moved in, and he got his goods quick, and he's not willing to stick with the process. And he's like, I'm telling you, you're a lot better off right now with your foundation that you built than he is. And so here I am now, 1.5 years removed from being in the house, 3.5 years now in recovery, and I just got 1% better every day. And now everything, like, people can ask me what I want out of life, and I tell them, like, I'm still working every day, but I tell them I'm happy, and I'm happy where I'm at, and I don't really care for more possessions, or I don't care for a better job, or I don't care for, like, I'm content with where I'm at and what I'm doing. And this same person that we were just talking about, has been back and forth in jail a couple times. And it's all about that I stuck with the marathon. And I tell this to him every time I see him. Every time I see him, I go, Hercules, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And some people in this world are sprinters and some people are marathon runners. And I think the main goal is just to know it's 1% better every day. And you got to run that race every day, and there's no finish line.
I think also the gift you're giving right now is you got to keep it real with the people you love too.
Yeah.
There's no safety in not acknowledging this is a significant event, and I learned from your mistake, just like you've learned from some of my mistakes, and we win together. And because you've put this in place, and because being a Christ-like person is a key value, that friendship is still there. Mm-hmm. And you and I, we still talk to him and admire and respect and like him.
I put money on his bail all the time. All the time. Or on his books all the time. I love him. Hurts my heart.
And the takeaway is, as Theodore Dostoevsky said, is happy people are happy in all the same ways. Unhappy people are unhappy in all their unique and special different ways.
I like that.
Choosing hard things, you and me, common ground. Cold showers, common ground. And that foundation really brought to bear when your house was laid waste to the foundation. Mm-hmm. And this January, you had to build back up. Mm-hmm. But because you had the foundation, you've been able to quickly build a life that you love and reinvent it in a way that is on that foundation and moves forward and is beautiful and you love. And I think also the gift that experience gave you is, I think that's probably when you quit comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah, 100%. Because he was everything I wanted to be, you know? He was everything I wanted to be. And you're right, man. In January, I was way more torn up than I was when I even checked into treatment, when I called Jared that day.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know if I was ever going to heal in January. I thought it would be a permanent thing. And I was able to build back now that you say it. Like, it's just crazy, like, when you're willing to put aside, like, your pride for a while. For me, it was a couple years. When you're willing to put away your pride for a couple years, what you can build with that, you know?
It's incredible, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And that to see where this and that's the other thing too, is the recovery skills apply through your whole life. You don't know when your mom's going to get sick, or that the weather is going to waste your house, or a financial adversity is going to just erase all your hard work. But you had that foundation, and to see you build on that, go forward. And, you know, shout out to Mary. She helped you get you the gift of Sisu. Remember her talking about Sisu?
What was that about?
That's the Finnish word for, like, unbeatability or unbreakability.
Interesting.
You can beat us in something, but the Finnish, like, Sisu, is you will never defeat us. Like, we will never be overcome.
Interesting, Sisu. Mm-hmm. I like that. I'm going to take that one, put it in the quiver.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing themes of foundation, the tortoise and the hare, playing the long game. Real quick, can I ask you?
Yeah.
How far back does gambling go in your family?
Oh, my great grandpa owned all the water rights in Delta. I should be a millionaire. I probably wouldn't have been born, actually. But my great grandpa owned all the water rights in Delta, and he lost all the water rights gambling, all the way down to my great grandpa. My grandpa doesn't do it. I sure do love to do it, but I know it's a problem. Anyways, that's how far back it goes into my family.
Do you know why I'm asking that?
Why do you ask that?
Because one of the places you had to go is that idea of getting something for nothing. You had to understand there's a price to pay. So gambling in itself is fun. It's just a game. Mm-hmm. But when it becomes something that's maladaptive and addiction, it's something that for generations your family has, like, been around.
Yeah.
And then part of your healing was letting go of, you can't get something for nothing. You need to put work and time into a foundation. You can't fake it. You can't just go off your gifts and talents and make it all happen in, 2 years worth of work in 2 months. Just, there's no hack to that.
No.
You have to put in the work.
You're right.
Way to go after that.
100%. I see a big problem in the world right now is a lot of people have their hands out. I want it. And
oh, but you got to take a cold shower this morning. Ooh, I don't know if I want it that bad. You get on your knees praying. I don't know if I want it that bad. You got to sacrifice some of your yoga practice to connect with somebody important to you.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know if I want it that bad.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Everyone wants it, but not many are willing to do the work for it.
And if you're listening, and why you're listening is because you're listening to two people who are doing the work all the way. And we'll share with you how it happens. So, Z, honesty, developing relationships with people who care about you, following your inspiration, honoring your gifts and talents, working for them, being aware of when you become complacent, doing hard things, having good people around you. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Mm-hmm. Yoga's been huge for you.
Huge. Shout out Bikram Yoga. I know it's not the most ideal looking practice that has been on Netflix lately, but get into a hot room. If you could take some things from me that I promise will change your life, look into changing your diet, staying hydrated, and get yourself in, do some yoga in a hot room, do some Pilates. I've done all the sports my whole life. There's not a better way to fuel your body than those right there. Just do those things if you're going to take some stuff from me tonight. It'll change everything.
And don't do it alone. Get somebody, find somebody, make a friend, say hello. Don't do them alone, and your longevity or your perpetuity will increase exponentially.
Yeah. Get out and meet people. Say hi to the person who takes your money at the gas station. Say hi to the person who serves you on the ice cream cone. Wave to the people at the stoplights. Say thank you. Say please. Look people in the eye. Give them a firm handshake. Learn their names.
Compliment somebody that you are prompted to compliment. Their dress, their mannerisms, their looks. Compliment them. Genuinely and generously.
Yep. It doesn't need to be fake. That's like the main things I learned from my parents, My parents are the best at giving people compliments. And you know what? They got a lot of friends because of it. A lot of people love them.
Z, I bring the love.
Right back at you, Shay Dog.
Thank you so much for bringing it and really sharing some of your treasure with anybody who's willing to listen.
Yes, sir.
And to you, you know who you are. If we're reaching and speaking to you, reach out. IamRTC.com or give a call. Jared Casey, 801-407-9998, and we will find ways to win together. Yeah. Boom.